Hi there. Welcome to Women Changing the World Online Summit. I'm super excited to be here. I just want you to know that this is going to be a conversation woman to woman. I know that when we meet in this place of midlife, there can be a recognition of things like there's a yearning for more within. There's something within us that is saying something is shifting and changing. There's a feeling that we are calling to rise, that we're longing to rise as women. And that's the power of this time of midlife. Midlife is not the slow fade that we've been taught to fear. Rather, midlife is an awakening. It's the time when we get to claim our true power. And if you found yourself here, there is no doubt that somewhere within you in this midlife journey that you're feeling this call to rise. Midlife is the turning point that changes everything. So before I go any further, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kareena Glanville. I'm co-founder of Reclaim Her with my sister Sophie, and we have a beautiful community of midlife women who are looking to rise, are looking to align their lives with their higher truth, with what's most important, meaningful, and impactful for them in their own lives. I've been fortunate enough to walk beside women for 30 years through their important transitions, whether that's motherhood or business, personal transformation, their own inner awakening. And my work centers around the principles of intuition, of deep spiritual connection, and practical leadership. And just most recently, in the last month, I was voted spiritual leader in the Spiritual Leader Awards International. So that was a super exciting honor for me. But titles aren't what's important today. What's important is that I'm a midlife woman who knows how it feels to feel lost, to question the path forward, and to want more, to rise, to become more of who I am. And that's what we're talking about today. So the conversation is midlife is the turning point that changes everything. So why? Why is midlife the turning point that changes everything? Well, it's because so many important aspects converge at this time. Obviously, there's the incredibly significant physical journey that our bodies undergo. And with that is a sense of uncertainty, feeling out of control. That in itself creates a melting pot, if you like, for change and questioning and invitation to find something new. But alongside that are things like a rising intolerance to self-sacrifice. There are those calling or the questioning of who am I becoming? Who do I want to become in this life? How do I want to finish my life? It's such a huge question. So there are all these moments, these longings, these awakenings, the fire of something new, the uncertainty that all converge here. And what that does is it makes it an invitation for one of the most sacred transformations that we can step into. It's probably the most significant transformation we will go through as a woman, as an adult woman. So we can do this journey consciously, with commitment, with our eyes open, with deep listening, or we can flail and not question and try and do things the old way. That's what our egos would have us do, is embrace an old way of doing it and get caught in the fear. But we are now wise, incredible, powerful women. We've gained so much knowledge and experience and wisdom in this first chapter of our lives. And now we get to use all of this and live consciously with our second chapter. That's why it's so important. So not only do we have these things that are awakening within us personally, but of course we also have external factors that happen around this time. Things like children leaving the nest and finding their wings and going off to soar and explore new lands, so to speak. We have relationships often change and shift around this time, whether that's from our rising intolerance of the way things were, or just a general shift in both partners looking for new ways to be with each other. We're becoming new people, so change comes from that. Career often changes. We may leave work, change work, start to build businesses that feel meaningful for us, because we have this call to live from a place of impact and purpose rather than just serving. We're also often navigating things like aging parents, things that feel tricky and hard and unknown to navigate. So we have this whole convergence of all these different aspects that come together, and yet we come from a culture that doesn't appreciate or doesn't revere transformation, initiation, or the sacred portals of life. And that's what I'm inviting you to see midlife as today, is that you have the opportunity to take all of that and say, what is next for me? What do I want for my life? What's important for me when I finish my life to look back and go, oh yes, I did that. So we have conditioning. The thing that we battle at this time, probably more than anything else, is conditioning. There's so much social conditioning that we grew up with. Things like movies rarely showed wise, powerful, older women past 40, where they felt alive and vital. News anchors, especially female news anchors, were aged out really young. Magazines worship youth. And we are caught in this stay young culture and paradigm. And what that does is that robs us of stepping into aging and stepping into this transformation with power and insight and grace, right? Because instead of embracing it, instead of seeing it as something powerful and to be revered like it is in some other cultures, we fear it. We fear invisibility and we fear irrelevance. Thankfully, we are the pioneering generation, I think, for at least many generations, in that we are the ones at the front line of claiming this sacred time back, claiming age positivity, claiming that we can be powerful, incredible, wise elders within our community. We have women like Susan Sarandon, and of course, Emma Thompson in that incredible movie, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. If you haven't seen that, then I encourage you to do that. It really challenges that midlife paradigm around sexuality, which I think is really incredible. So we've got some women leaders in our community who are now starting to shine. Magazines are showing more. Movies are revealing women in all states of this post-midlife transformation, both from empowered and questioning. So we're really blessed in that we're starting to see this, and it can give us greater permission to step into this with more power. The point here, though, is that while we've been taught that this is a time to shrink back and maybe even a time to fear, we actually now get to choose how we approach this. We get to see midlife as a time of awakening, a time of claiming, a time of saying, yes, I want more, I deserve more, I'm valuable, I'm valid, and really step into this new paradigm with a sense of empowerment and claiming. And the gift in that is generational. It's not just us that we're gifting this to. It will be the young women and even the men who follow us, the next generation. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that this journey of midlife is easy. Certainly mine hasn't been. Some of the things that I've had to face are months on end of migraines, sometimes 3 to 4 a week. Intolerance that rises as this fiery, I will not do this anymore, which is not easy on my family. I have told them I am no longer cooking and doing the things that maybe once they took for granted, I'm now refusing to do. And that takes a shift and a change in relationships, right? Then there's also this feeling of, or this conflict, I think, around visibility. So this pull towards invisibility and irrelevance that is the societal imprint, I suppose, but then my own call to be more visible, to claim more, to show up more. And so I know for me, I need to battle that on a pretty much daily basis. And of course, as I mentioned, we are on hormonal roller coasters like nothing else. Our sleep changes, our eating patterns have to change because our gut health changes. I was even hearing a podcast the other day that it impacts our hearing. It can impact our joints and our tendons. Every single aspect of us physically is being impacted. Then there's also relationship-wise in intimacy and how we receive that. Sometimes we want more and sometimes we want none. So there's this changing landscape that we are facing on so many different levels, personal as well as physical. Literally, our body, mind, and spirit is calling for change. It's calling for transformation, and it's calling for us to step into a new way of being. So that's the sacred tension of midlife. And it comes with this sense of restlessness. It comes with this, things have to change, but we don't necessarily know where we're going. It's like we've left the shore, but we have no idea where this ship is actually sailing to. And so what that means is at this time, we're in the mystery. It comes with this enormous amount of uncertainty as we leave behind what we know, what we can trust, whether we liked it or not, that's irrelevant. We're leaving behind comfort and certainty. We're now stepping into this unknown space, and then we're moving towards something that perhaps isn't quite clear yet for us. So what we really deserve during this time is compassion for ourselves, compassion for the people who walk beside us, compassion for the past versions of ourselves and the future versions of ourselves. This journey is done best with a huge side dose of self-love, compassion, and patience. And while intolerance rises, we can then also still embrace those aspects of being with ourselves, our changing selves, and let that be okay. So this summit, this online summit, is called Women Changing the World. Midlife is potentially the greatest invitation to begin to change our lives, not just ours, but the lives of the women around us. Women, I believe, are the change makers for this generation and the next. I have never met a woman who, when she's connected to her truth, to her heart, to what is alive in her and calling her forward, that she doesn't want more good, more love, and more beauty for our world. When a woman lives her truth, when a midlife woman says yes to this conscious transformation, says yes to the fire that burns within her for more impact, more purpose, more fulfillment, more meaning, that is going to be good for her. It's going to be good for her loved ones. She's going to become an inspiration. She's going to do things like build heart-centered, incredible businesses that inspire others. She's going to devote her time and energy to things that matter, to healing this world. And for me, that's everything. That's my why. That's why I get up in the morning, is because I believe women are the change makers. And I believe that this time of our life is the greatest invitation and the greatest moment that we get to choose. Who do we want to become? What do we want for our lives? And what legacy do we want to live? How are we going to use our wisdom? How are we going to use our gifts and our skills that we developed and fostered and grew into in the first chapter of our lives to create a better world in the second chapter of our lives? When one woman rises, we give permission for every other man, woman, child in our life to rise as well. We become not only more fulfilled. That's our gift, right? But we also support others and inspire others to become more fulfilled. And that is one of our greatest gifts. So midlife does not need to be that slow fade. It doesn't need to mean irrelevance or invisibility. In fact, midlife can be this most important, most potent, and most incredible moment of your life to grasp hold of change, to take this energy that is already moving through us, creating change within us. Literally, our bodies are changing, our minds are changing, our spirit is changing to become these women, these change maker women for this and the next generation. So that's the invitation. What I've seen in the women that I work with is that there is a blueprint for midlife reinvention, that there is a set of steps that we can move through that help us consciously create change. So that's what I want to share with you today as well. I call it VIBE. That's the acronym, VIBIE. The V stands for step one, is vision. Create a vision for your life that inspires you. See something in your future that you can say, oh yes, if I create that, that is going to build more meaning and fulfillment for me. It doesn't have to be life-changing. It just has to be important to you. And trusting that what's important to you will help create the shift and change and ripple out into the world that it's meant to create. That's not our business. Our ripple is not our business, but showing up to what we long for is. And that's where the vision comes in. It's the part where we're here in this now. The vision gives us where we want to go, and it creates tension between the two so that we are pulled forward towards that thing. If we do not have a clear vision, the cost is that we can't do this journey consciously. If we don't have a clear vision, we just go along with life floating our way. And if you know me, you'll know I'm all about intuition and spirituality, and that's an important part, as is having a clear direction and a clear idea of what we want for our lives. It helps direct spirit. It helps direct our mind, and it helps us navigate and overcome our ego as well. So step one is having a vision. The I in VIBE is intuition and spiritual connection. We have both an internal guidance system, our intuition, and we're connected to the energy that flows through all things. Whatever your word is for that, I call it spirit or the divine. There are many, many words from universal love, God, creation, creative life force. Whatever it is that resonates with you, what I'm talking about is that energy that flows through all things and connects all things. So we're a conduit for that. So intuition is about connecting to our own truth and a higher truth. It's about connecting to our inner wisdom, the part that knows. There is a part within us that knows. And when I discovered this and that I could access it consciously, it was literally a life-changing moment for me, because I was like, what? How do we as women not know this skill? And the reality is, it has been generations upon generations of this not being valued or empowered or actively deconstructed. But that's another story. So we do have this inner wisdom, we do have this intuition, and it goes beyond gut feelings. It goes beyond finding a car park or knowing who's going to be on the phone. It is about consciously asking a question, going within and seeking and finding and listening deeply for the answer. And it is there. And there are steps to do this. The next step is B, balance and nourishment. We cannot create and become leaders in wisdom and our own truth if we're undernourished, if we aren't caring for our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, and refueling this vessel and Midlife, more than any time, you've probably already discovered it. You can't do the things that you used to do. Our nervous systems don't tolerate the same things. So we need to fuel and nourish, and that's a good thing, right? Like, isn't nourishment just so rich and beautiful? Balance is about taking the things that are important to us and valuing those, prioritizing those, and caring for ourselves at the same time. So I in Vibe is about inspired action. So the vision is about receiving what is true, working out our compass, giving us direction. Intuition gives us our connection to what's true for us. Balance and nourishment fuels us. Inspired action, that is action taken on our vision, intuitive action, even better, taken on our vision, that is movement forward. That's what builds momentum. And the final acronym letter in Vibe is E, and that's for empowering feminine principles or empowering feminine leadership. So these are things like feminine leadership, which encompasses all of those things, all those important things. It's things like opening to receive, putting down our armor, our resistance, doing our own healing journey so that we can be open-hearted women in the world, that we can receive the resources and the guidance that we need to guide us forward. It's things like community and collaboration. We need our people. We need our beautiful people who we can rely on, who get us, who understand us. And then it's also, there's one other aspect around this empowering feminine principles, and that is things like what is true about your journey, coming to trust your journey, to know your journey, past, present, and future. That's part, looking back and trusting our past journey. Part of that is doing our healing journey, right? To take all those challenges and make gold from them. But also it's about trusting the journey of where we're going. Who are we becoming? How are we moving forward? So that's Vibe: vision, intuition and spiritual connection, balance and nourishment, inspired action steps, and then empowering feminine principles. When we encompass all of those, when we capture that and create a vision, open up to receive our guidance, when we nourish ourselves, when we take action, and when we allow ourselves to do our healing journey, trust our path and receive and connect with others, that is the pathway to deeper meaning and fulfillment. I'm going to talk a little bit more about 3 of those today so that you've really got something tangible to take away with you. So I'm just going to have a drink. It won't be a moment. So the first one that I want to talk about is vision. How can you create a vision? Well, the first thing that you can do is just pause and take a moment and ask yourself, what do you want? A life-changing moment, or really important, significant moment for me was when I did this process and I allowed my imagination to go to the end of my life. And I asked myself the question, if I keep going on this path that I'm on, how will I feel at the end of my life? And the truth was, the way I was heading was not going to lead me to where I wanted to go. I had to acknowledge that the path that I was on would have led to regrets. So when I allowed myself to go to end of life and consider, what do I want to feel? What do I want to have done? What's important to me that at the end of my life, when I'm on my deathbed and I'm there with my children, what are the most important things for me? And what came out of it for me, other than the usual, of course, of loving family, was I do not want to die with my song left unsung. I want to let this message, my divine connection, come through me, and I want to speak what is there to be spoken. And at that time, I wasn't even working as much in this midlife field. This is part of the transition. This is part of the leaving the shore and going out and discovering new places to bring one's gifts. So this was part of mine. But my big thing that gets me up in the morning are two things. Women are the change makers for the next generation. The next generation is important to me. I have 4 kids, and I will not die with my song left unsung. It allows me to do hard things. It allows me to show up, to do things like this, where that might feel confronting and tricky, and show up anyway, because that's more important. What I got to learn by sitting with my vision and what I really wanted at the end of my life was I had to recognize I did not want to die with regrets. And what leads to regrets for me are all the moments where I denied my truth, all the moments where I pleased others, where I lived by obligation, where I put down my own wants and needs instead of taking the action on what was actually important to me. So that's the heart of the vision. The vision isn't about goal setting. It's not about going, I want this by this time. I'm inviting you into a deeper moment, a moment that it's death stakes, right? It's like, that's what we have to capture is what does it really mean for us to live our highest and truest vision for ourselves? What will it take for you to be able to say, oh yeah, I lived a life that I not only feel proud of, but more than that, that feels meaningful, impactful, fulfilling, joyful, connected. What are the things that are most important to me? So we create a vision. We do visioning exercises every single month in Reclaimed. That's how we start our month. Reclaimed is our community, is our group community for midlife women. But we do this exercise, a visioning activity, every single month because it gives us our compass for the month ahead. It connects us to something true that we can point our life force towards every single month. So, yep, I have this overarching picture of what I want my life to look like. But how I create that is the steps that I take every single day. And that comes from constantly connecting with my vision, finding new ways to be with who I want to become and where I want to go. So that's an activity that I encourage you to do. It's a brave one. It may mean you have to sit with things that you regret or that you wish you had have done. I know that I had to do that. I had to acknowledge parts where my life felt off track, but actually I had valued things that were more important. Things like family, raising young children, financial stability. They're all the things that are important when we're younger. But now we have this unique opportunity to use our life force. We have a little bit more time perhaps, but certainly more fire and more commitment and more tenacity and a whole lot of wisdom than we did when we were younger to follow this path more consciously. So that's visioning. Be with yourself, create some time and space, light a candle, set your intention. What's true for you in this next chapter? What would a vision for your life look and feel like that is inspiring? And who is the woman that you would need to become in order to create that? So the next one that I want to look at is intuition and divine connection. So as I mentioned, intuition and consciously learning about intuition was such an aha, incredible moment for me. Why? Because what it told me was that I have access to answers that I didn't know I have. I learned this doing a year-long training that I did back in 2009. And while it wasn't a course specifically about intuition, that was my greatest takeaway. My greatest takeaway was that we have access to a wisdom and a knowing within us that we can consciously access. And women are incredibly powerful at that. We're naturally more connected to this part, I believe. Although I've taught plenty of men to connect with their intuition, including my sons as well and my daughter. So I've taught thousands of women to connect to their intuition. It's another aspect of what we teach in Reclaimed in our community. But there are so many ways as well that you can connect to your intuition. And I'll cover off on a few of those as well today so that you've got something that you can go away with. How I started using it was with my kids. So I raised 4 children. They were 6 and under when my last one was born. It was a lot. So there are moments I can still remember my son crying his little head off and not knowing how to support him, not knowing what he needed, basically. And I still remember that moment where I put my hand on my heart, I turned away from him, closed my eyes and just went, what does he need? And it was that simple. It was that simple. At that moment, I got that all he needed was just some space to express, to know that his mum was here and present, to not be in battle. He just needed a moment, basically. And so I could give him the moment. Then I worked out a way around it and how to bring him back. And literally within a couple of minutes, we were back on track. And from that moment on, pretty much, I practiced it day in and day out. I run 2 very successful businesses totally intuitively, including one business with 2 male partners and the other business with Sophie. We make every decision intuitively, every program we run. The women we serve, even today, we tuned in before this. So intuition, for me, some people will say it's like a muscle. I have a much deeper relationship with that, in that I believe building a relationship with our intuition is one of the most fundamental and powerful things that we can do. It's more than just flexing a muscle and making it strong, although that analogy does work. For me, it's more like the more you show up to it, the more you connect with it, the more you're vulnerable with your intuition, the deeper you listen, the more fundamentally powerful and beautiful this relationship with your intuition becomes. It becomes like a friend. And I would say the same with divine connection. All the tools that I'll give you shortly are the same way that I connect with my intuition as with the divine energy. It's just my intention is different. Who am I connecting with and what do I want to know? Do I want this from my inner wisdom? Do I want this from divine wisdom? Are the 2 aligned? Are they slightly different? These are all the questions that you can ask yourself. So a few things that you can do right now to connect with your intuition. Go to nature. Nature is one of the most powerful free tools that you have that brings you into resonance with your inner wisdom and the energy of the divine. It naturally brings us back into sync with a deeper knowing, especially if we can do it where we can sit for a period of time. Perhaps you want to take a journal and write, ask a question. Perhaps you want to walk through nature. Some people access their intuition better through movement than they do through stillness. Sophie is like that. She's much more body oriented. I'm better with being still and just writing is my tool. Sophie perhaps will move and walk and feel her connection that way out in nature. So find what works for you. There's no one right way, but nature is an incredible enhancer of our intuition. It allows us to put down our armor, clear the channel and show up. And on that note, if our channel is full of ego and fear and static, it's sometimes really hard to connect to your intuition, right? It's really hard to hear a higher truth when we're fueled by fear. So a good first step is do some writing or some art or something to express all of those thoughts, feelings, agendas, expectations, confusions, fears. Keep going until you feel empty, and then you will find it much easier to connect. Other things that you can do are guided meditation. So you can go to @Reclaim Her and find us on YouTube. There are a couple on there. There are also some amazing people on YouTube that you can access as well. So a guided meditation helps us move beyond that that voice that is often very active within us. So it allows us to sit in the quiet, sit with connection, but also be guided, ask questions and receive answers. So for me, guided meditation is a really powerful tool that you can immediately and easily access for free to tap into some more of that inner guidance or even divine guidance. There are meditations for both. For me, I do my best connection, if you like, I close my eyes, I connect to the channel of light above me, I set up my own structure. I might light a candle first, but it's about connecting to the light, and then I write. And I will normally start with something like, if I were truly listening, what would you have me know? If I were connected to my heart, what would you have me hear? Anything like that, that basically opens up this conversation. I'm listening. This is the problem I'm having. I'm listening. Another way is I've got this pain in my shoulder, for example, and what does my shoulder want me to know? Right? Your body has wisdom. It's part of your intuitive feedback system. So pay attention to it. So there are 3 ways. And finally, if you're not a writer, do art. Do whatever is your mode for connecting to something greater than yourself. So that might be, for me, it's writing. It might be art. It might be clay. It might be walking. It might be exercise. It might be rowing. It could be anything that is your thing that takes you into that meditative, quiet peace within. And when you're there, ask your question and you'll hear your answer. So that's intuition and spiritual connection. The last one that I want to cover off on is empowering feminine principles. And the reason I want to cover that is because I believe that this moment in time is when we get to step into feminine leadership. We are becoming the wise elders of our community. This might not be something that our culture in the Western world acknowledges or speaks of in clear terms like some other cultures do. Other cultures, Sophie travels the world extensively, and her feedback is always that other cultures revere this older age group, this demographic, these wise women. They seek them out for insight. So while this might not be something that is actively fostered here in the West, it is still something that we are stepping into, and we get to be leaders in our own form, in the way that we choose. That might be in a small way. It might be a leader to one person. It might be a leader to a small community. It might just be showing up at your kids' school. It might be showing up in the fullness on a world stage. Whatever it is for you as the change maker, as the leader, there's a way that you can do this with feminine principles. So apart from vision, intuition, nourishment, inspired action, they're all part of feminine leadership. I would also say that a huge part of this is your own healing journey, is looking back on your life and harvesting the gold that is there. Every single hard moment has led you to this place. I truly believe it has been my finding my truth for myself and the women that I work with, that every hard moment allows us to awaken something precious that serves us moving forward. Do we still want that hard moment? Of course not. It was awful. But we still get to harvest the gold from it. And it's there to make us stronger. It's there to give us something, tell us something about what we don't and what we do want. So I would say do your healing journey. As you do your healing journey, you get to put down your armor. You get to put down your resistance to life. You get to become intimate to the things that your wound might be around, things like money, things like love, things like visibility. You get to build intimacy around that and do hard things. Open yourself more to receiving resources. But also you're building that connection and that trust in your own life. And this to me is one of the most important of the feminine empowering principles, because when you trust your life, when you trust your past journey, you start to be able to trust your future journey. And even if you're caught here in this mystery, in the place of the unknown, if you do this work, if you show up to yourself, if you get the learnings and do the healing, build the intimacy with what you want in your life, then you get to trust your path forward. And when you do that, you do bigger, braver, bolder things. You build community. You connect and reach out for collaborations. You say yes when people reach out a hand to support you, which are all the other feminine empowering principles. They're the things that amplify this journey, this movement beyond midlife. The more you can trust your past, trust your present, and trust your future, the more empowered you'll become moving forward. So how do you do that? What I would do is take a hard moment of your life, something where you feel there is still a block, still something that challenges you, and go back to that moment and really allow yourself to get the learning. What were you there to learn that serves you in powerful and positive ways moving forward? What's the gold that lived there? So I'll give you an example. My parents had beautiful shops when I was young, and through no fault of their own, they lost them. And for me, I made a vow way back then that I would never do business. Didn't serve me very well because I've been in business my entire adult life. But the wounding was there. The wounding was set. The loss was set. But when I went back and explored that loss, in my 40s, I realized that the reason that the wound was there is because I had lost something precious. I actually loved business. I wanted business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to shine. The loss actually taught me how important this was to me. Not that I should never have it, not that I should avoid that pain, not that business equals suffering, all the things that I had probably taken on from that moment, but rather business was important to me. I love business, and that's why the loss hurt. So go back to those moments and let yourself explore them, feel them, revisit them. If that feels hard, rise above them, look down on those moments like you're watching a movie, and let those learnings float up to you. It's powerful, important work, and it teaches you that nothing that happened in your past was a punishment. It wasn't there to harm you. It was there to serve you. But your job is to mine for the gold. That's one of the most empowering feminine principles that I can give you. So, where to from here? Let's take a moment. I just invite you to close your eyes, if you will, and just pop your hand on your heart. And I invite you to take a long, slow, deep breath. And I just invite you, as you do that, to feel this woman that you are now here in this space that you're listening to this summit. And I invite you to feel all the past versions of you. The baby, the child, the teen, the young adult, the mid-adult, this midlife woman. And I wonder if you can just send all those past versions of you some love. Let them know that you're here. The wise elder, the woman ready and willing to stand in her power. And that all those versions of you helped shape you. Each of them gifted you something that led you to here, to know what you want and what you don't want, and to know what's important to you moving forward. So let's just take a moment to send all those past versions of you that did the very best they knew how to do with the information and wisdom that they had at the time. and just send them some love. Send them some gratitude. And then coming back to this moment of now and looking forward out to the future versions of you. And I wonder if you can sense or feel what's important for you to use your life force towards, for you to become. Just take a moment to feel into the future versions of you. What does she long for? And this current version of you, what do you wish for this future version of you? If you could gift her anything, what would you gift her? And just sending love and appreciation for these future versions of you, all the evolutions and the unfoldings still to come. Sometimes she'll be strong and powerful. Sometimes she'll be vulnerable and unsure. Let's just assure her that she will be loved and held and appreciated. And then this current version of you, this version of you that is just in the perfect place right now. Let's send her some love and gratitude as well. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. I want to close this presentation today by reminding you, you are a change maker for this and the next generation. You are a woman filled with heart, filled with fire and passion, filled with perhaps a longing for more. And you may not know what that is. It might not be 100% clear for you, and that is okay. Or you might know exactly how you want it to unfold, and that's okay too. This midlife moment is the moment that can change everything. If you show up to yourself and your life with love, compassion, commitment, and maybe even a side dose of forgiveness for things that you may have chosen to do, choices you made that may not have felt aligned. It's okay, we've all made mistakes. But here we are right now, and we get to choose how we're going to move forward. This is how we create a life that is not ending with regret, but instead ends with power, ends with fulfillment, ends with meaning, ends with joy, ends with connection to others, to our loved ones, to the divine, to our intuition, and to what's important to us. You get to choose, and you are the only one who can give yourself permission to do this path with a level of self-love and commitment that you deserve. The more you can show up to yourself with love and love yourself enough to take the action and do the steps, move forward on a path that you value, the more you can show up yourself with that love, the grander and more beautiful your life will be. That's what helps determine that midlife is a turning point that changes everything. This is not the end. This is not the slow fade. This is not invisibility. This is not irrelevance. On the contrary, this is a moment where you get to step into your true power, step into what matters to you, to claim a life and make choices as a wise elder that influences your life, your loved ones, and the next generation in big or small ways, whatever is your truth. We all have our different truth, right? So, my blessing for you, my wish for you moving forward is that you take a moment to reflect, to decide what is the vision for your future, what is most important for you to do and for you to become, the qualities for you to foster and ignite within you. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to connect with? My wish for you is that you trust your inner wisdom and that you're here on the precipice of becoming and being a wise elder in service to your heart, to your divinity, and to our world, because our world needs more love, more good, and more beauty. And this is your moment to find and live that most powerfully in the world. When one woman rises, when you rise, we influence and impact every single woman and person around us. Our world gets to change because we stepped up. Many blessings to you. Thank you for showing up today. So much love.